and welcome to the Trauma Flavored Chapters. I'm Serenity, and this is a place where I share my past and present chapters with you completely unfiltered. No filters, they're all gone. They've escaped and disappeared somewhere. But if this chapter you aren't relating to, I hope that it helps you connect with the ones that you love and get a better understanding of them and their life chapters. So let's get into today's episode. You can probably tell by the title, Mommy Trauma. We're talking about my mommy trauma today. And this is one of the heaviest chapters of my life. It has changed my whole life path. It has changed everything about me. And yeah, my mom made a huge fucking impact on my life. So, my mom passed away when I was 14 from breast and brain cancer. And I don't want you to know her just for that. I want you to know her for who she really was. There's just so many times that I've talked to people, friends, and just they're learning things about me. And I'm like, oh yeah, my mom passed away when I was 14. And like, that's it. Or like, oh, she passed away from cancer. And talk to people that lost their parents. And it's the same thing where they go, oh, my mom passed away from cancer or whatever it is, or this happened. But they never tell you like who their parent was or friend was. And I find that very interesting. And I'm like, I want to start having deeper conversations with people and be like, oh yeah, my mom passed away and she was fucking cool, like, or whatever the case is. And that's what I want to do today. I want you to truly get to know her so you can understand the effects that she's had literally on my soul. So I'm going to be looking over here a couple times to my little computer because I have notes on here to keep me what is the word? Keep me on par? I have no idea. Keep me on par, whatever the word is. But I want to start out by what my dad had posted about this one time, and he was posting I think it was a birthday post for her or something. And he said that to be loved by her was to truly know what love was. And that got me thinking about like who was she and how do I want to describe her to you guys. So I journaled in my little journal that I don't show anybody usually. I don't ever really share any, like besides my therapist, I think. But I wrote this for her and I really want to read it to you. So I'm going to be looking over here and I'm going to read this. So it is titled Power, Beauty, and Strength. Who was she? She was a strong woman. This is the first thing that comes to my mind, is her strength. She was a representation of being someone's rock. She is giving and kind and one of the most empathetic people to animals. She is beautiful. She is the definition of beauty inside and out. She was meant to be a mother. She was the embodiment of mother energy. She was fashion, and not a single haircut she couldn't rock. She was powerful and always made it happen, fun and outgoing. Even when I was little, heavy things were happening, and she made it fun. I never knew what struggle was because she made life exciting and fun. When we were homeless for a time, oh my God. I kind of want to like reread this because I feel like I'm getting lost in the sauce. Okay. Do I just restart completely? I feel like I'm repeating myself so fucking much. We'll just cut that out and then we'll start again. Okay. The title of this is Power, Beauty, and Strength. Who was she? She was a strong woman. That is the first thing that comes to my mind, her strength. She is a representation of being someone's rock. She is giving and kind and one of the most empathetic people for animals. She is beautiful, the definition of beauty inside and out. She was meant to be a mother, She was the embodiment of mother energy. She was fashion, and not a single haircut she couldn't rock. She was powerful and always made it happen, fun and outgoing. Even when I was little and heavy things were happening, she made it fun. I never knew what struggle was because she made life exciting and fun. When we were homeless for a time, it was, let's have a sleepover. She always made life feel safe and at home. Home was where she was. She always made family feel like family. Every holiday was something fun and decorative. Easter decorations everywhere, even to putting eggs in my slippers, and so much more. She impacted many lives just by being her and not even trying to affect others' lives. And that's just what she did. Her magical cackle was my favorite. To be loved like her in this lifetime is life-changing. Her life was an absolute blessing and one like no other. It's hard to go through this world and life after that type of love. She was courage. Wild but grounded, her energy felt freeing. She always believed and was supportive, a hard worker, and fierce. She was a force to be reckoned with, and never was afraid to tell you it straight or let you get away with shitty behavior. She lived her life fully and fiercely. She was a saver. It was a life-changing experience to be in her presence, and it was a blessing. Not because she is my mom, because I still have never experienced a woman like her in this lifetime. To be loved by her was life-changing, and it was my greatest honor of my life. Just a chance in this universe to be chosen as her child, and for her to be my mother was the greatest blessing. Even after death, she has stuck by my side and has never left. My greatest supporter, my greatest love, she is power, beauty, and strength, and she is my mom. That is just the tip of the iceberg. That is just the little, I feel like that's just the smallest things that I could even describe of her, because she was just this, quite frankly, badass. But yeah, I wanted to start kind of from her, childhood. I just want to start from the tippy top and kind of just go all the way until she died. So we're gonna start. So to start out is that she has 3 brothers and she is the only girl. She grew up in White Center, Washington. Sounds a little crazy, but it is a place. If you are from there, hello. But yeah, she grew up there. She raised meat rabbits and I believe she always had animals in her life. She always really stood out, and one of the things that I think of when I think about her being really little is one of her elementary pictures. And you see all these little kids, and there's just rows of kids, and you're looking at them, and you're like, oh yeah, that's just a bunch of kids. And then you look at one, and you're like, what is that? And she's holding a giant rabbit. She brought her rabbit to school to take pictures with for the picture day or whatever it is. So yeah, that's just, I imagine her just being little and taking her rabbit everywhere. I just think it's so cute. But yeah, she deeply loved, I think she loved all of her siblings, but she deeply, deeply loved her youngest brother. And he served in the Marines. And I think this is important because it connects to her life a little bit later. But he was a Marine and he served his time and he was coming back home. And on his way home, he was waiting for the train to pick him up, and he was standing too close to the train and he got hit by the train. So I believe that's maybe, I don't know for sure, but I believe that's one of my mom's first losses in her life. And I never got to meet him. He was 24 when he died. And I just, growing up, she had pictures of him and talked about him, and he just seemed like the most loving, sweet boy ever. And I just saw how that affected her in her lifetime. a little bit later down the road, I just found this out from my dad actually. She actually signed up for the Marines. I have to assume it's because of him. And she signed up for the Marines, or was like on her way to sign up for the Marines. And her best friend Robin, and she has a bunch of friends that she met in kindergarten and like 5th grade, and she was friends with them her whole entire life. And Robin and her mom are driving by and they see my mom, and my mom's name is Debbie, by the way. I don't know why I didn't say her name. My mom's name is Debbie, and her whole name is Deborah, but no one called her Deborah. Her name is Debbie, and a little side tangent too. I feel like I should describe like what she looked like, because in my little poem there, she was the definition of beauty, inside and out. I think she was about like 5'7", and she had these cat green eyes, like piercing cat green eyes, and short, curly, blonde, platinum blonde hair. Yeah, platinum blonde. I was like, blonde, blonde, blonde. She was super fucking blonde. And she just had these amazing curls. So, to go back to my story, uh, she she was on the way to sign up for the Marines, and Robin and her mom drive by, and she's like, oh, we're on the way to drop off Robin to beauty school. Want to come with? And she's like, sure. So she just hopped in, and she went to beauty school with Robin, and she ended up doing hair, I believe, for 25 years. My whole life, I had never had anyone else cut my hair. So yeah, she went to beauty school and she absolutely loved cutting hair. And you go through these like photo albums of her, and there is seriously not one single haircut that I saw of her that she could not rock. She had like long black curly hair, she had a mohawk, she had a really funny story that I love to tell is she got mad at one of my brother's dads, and he loved her long black curly hair, and she shaved her hair off and put it on his front porch and then bleached her shaved head bleach blonde. Like blonde blonde. She loves the blonde blonde. But yeah, she was like, well, you love it so much you can have it. So yeah, she was a little wild. But yeah, she went to beauty school, and I think of one of these stories too that her friend Carrie told me about recently. And I was like, oh, can you tell me a story about her? And she said she was at a lip sync concert, and she turned and she saw this, she said, the most beautiful woman she has ever seen in her life. And she said that she was super tan and skinny, and she looked up and she had a white mohawk. And she was with my brother's dad. So to kind of describe, to make it make sense, it's really hard to describe sometimes, but my oldest brother is 13 years older than I am, and she was with his dad, Archie, and she had him at 26, I think. Yeah, 26. And yeah, Carrie was like, oh yeah, I saw her and she was the most beautiful woman. And she was with Archie at the time, and we didn't understand why she really liked him, but he's okay, I guess. So moving forward, she ended up having, so yeah, she had my brother at 26, and then she met my other brother's dad. I would assume it a little bit before, but she had my brother at 30, and then she had me at 39. But her other friend, Andrea, a lifelong best friend as well, she was telling me some stories about her, and I was like, oh, how would you describe her? And she was like, she was an absolute paradox. Very wild, but very grounded at the same time. Like, she was very attracted to other women that had families and just made friends with women with kids, but she still had like a fuck ton of fun. And my mom had asked her, like, why do you like me so much? I don't get it. And she's like, you're fun to hang out with and just be around. So yeah, her friend Andrea met her a little after she had Egypt, and she had separated with his dad, Archie, and they started working out together, and they were hanging out and just always having fun. And she ended up meeting my other brother's dad, Alvin. And I just think it's so funny that my mom's friend Andrea, she's like, yeah, we liked him, but we knew Debbie was a little too wild for him. And he's a very laid back man. And I don't know about how long that lasted for, but I think it was before. This is a very random story too about my mom. It really encapsulates her personality. I believe this was before she even had Egypt. Yeah, it had to be before she had an apartment, and her friend Carrie, she was like, oh, can you come take care of my apartment while I'm out doing something? And she's like, oh yeah. She comes in and she has a whole entire apartment full of iguanas. She's like, she had iguanas like everywhere. And I think that's the only pet she had at the time, was just a bunch of iguanas. But yeah, she absolutely loved animals. And I even look back at pictures and I see her with all the different dogs that she had and her rabbits. But yeah, I think about those stories that her friends tell me of just like, and both her and Carrie, and I haven't talked to her other friends recently, but I believe they would say the same thing. They both said that they see her as like the best friend of their lives. I want to move forward a little bit in time to connect moi into the story. She ended up meeting my dad at a hair salon or something. But actually, no. I want to talk about a little bit before that. So Andrea was telling me about this story of like kind of connecting the dots of everything, timelines and all that. So my mom was a big churchgoer at the time. She was very Christian, and she had met this man Kevin, and she was dating him, and she felt deeply in love with him, and she thought she was going to marry him. He ended up breaking it off, and what Andrea told me was like, he was like, I don't know if I like this amazing moment. I don't know. He just got like freaked out and like couldn't handle it, I guess. And he broke it off with her, and she was distraught and absolutely fucking heartbroken. And she's like grieving that relationship, and this is when she meets my dad at a hair salon. This is what he told me, but who knows. So he said that he met her at a hair salon, and he was like, wow, she's absolutely fucking gorgeous. I had to go back. And so my mom's grieving, and he kind of takes advantage of that and sees that. And so while she's going to this church, she thinks it's like the best thing while she's at church, and like kind of around that time, the best thing. She's like, oh, I'm doing right by the church, and I'm just going to marry this man. Well, same timeline, same things are going on. So my biological dad's name is Kevin. So two Kevins back to back. The Kevin before, he was like, I fucked up. Oh my God, I need to get her back. Well, he tells one of these random church ladies about it, and she lies to him and says, oh no, she's already like fully moved on. But she hadn't fully like married my dad yet or fully moved on. It was like in the beginning. And he was like, oh, I want to get her back. And this random woman lied to him. She's like, oh no, you're too late. And I'm like, wow, just like that split second like timeline just changed her whole life is crazy to me to think about. I'm like, this one guy, like she could have ended up marrying him, but then she met my dad. Like, ugh. But yeah, so she ended up meeting my dad, and he has a son, Preston. And so to give, like, I'm not going to give you all of anyone's last names or anything like that, but my oldest brother is Egypt, and then my second brother is Gianni, and then there is Preston. So Preston is my biological dad's son. So she sees him, he's taking advantage of the situation, and she sees that he has a son, and she's like, oh, I feel bad, he's a single dad, and like, I want to, like, the boys go to the same school, and they have the same after-school program, and so she starts babysitting him, and their relationship moves forward. They get married within 3 months of knowing each other. And then, moi comes along. Hello. I asked my mom, I think it's so funny, I asked her, I was like, was I an accident? I want to know if I was an accident. She goes, honey, you were a God-given gift. And I go, I was a God-given accident. So I thought it was so funny. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I was an accident. This is the nicest way to say that ever, though. Looking at my So yeah, she thought she had to marry him. Moving forward, I came along. Some of the first memories I think about, like her, I tried to think of like my very, very first like memory of her. And I sit and I like think about it, and I think it's just like a feeling. And it's like the most coziest like hug. Just imagine like the most coziest hug ever. And you're just like, I think it is probably like me being held as a baby. And yeah, I feel like that's like my very first memory. It's just like that safety and security. I do want to talk a little bit about like how I came to this planet, to this earth. Um, I want to talk about it because I just think about how much it impacted my mom and like how scary it was. So I was supposed to be born like July 24th. I'm born May 29th. So I was born a preemie and I had high drop syndrome. And that is when a bunch of fluid is in your like lungs, and if it reaches, I believe it's spinal fluid, I could be wrong. If it reaches your brain, it'll kill you. And so I'm like this, I think it was 5 pounds when I was born. They took all this fluid out of me, and I learned the last like 2 months of the baby like developing, you develop your sucking mechanism. So I couldn't even eat, I couldn't do anything, and they put me in a little incubator and they cooked me for about 3 weeks. And I had like tubes down my throat. My mom couldn't hold me. And I remember, I forgot who exactly told me this, but she was so scared about like me being more attached to like the nurses since she wasn't able to hold me, do all these things. And I'm like, we have the best relationship ever. I don't even want to hear that. But I completely understand like thinking about having a baby, and then also while this is happening, so they're told like I'm premature, I have high drop syndrome. It's very rare that babies survive from this, and if they do, they usually have to be fed through a tube or vegetables, and they're like, I don't think she's gonna make it. Like, she probably has about like 12 hours. Say your goodbyes. I'm just like thinking about being a mom like that. Oh, that's like so hard to think about. Like you have 2 other kids, by the way. You have 2 other kids that you already know what it feels like to raise these kids, and then you have another one, and they're like, yeah, it might die. I'm like, that's scary. That's terrifying. And so obviously I'm here. And so they're like, okay, well, we don't understand why she lived, and I, here you go, I guess. And so they're like, oh, she's gonna have like heart and like liver failure by the age of like 7. Well, I'm obviously still here and I'm healthy. And I think about my childhood, and like I like remember my mom being like a little cautious, but I think over time she's like, she's not dying, she's not going anywhere. So to kind of go back to my first memories of her, it was just that safety and like that comfort and like a hug. But some of my few memories started out in Kent, and we were at this farm. And from my very first memories, I remember having animals and living on a farm. And um, I just think about how, like, I see like the inside of our house and like my room, and I see like my mom walking through the kitchen. But the bigger things that like stand out to me, I remember we were like in this pasture, and we had like these 3 horses that are like main, actually 4. We got one of them a little bit later, but we had Jojo, Bo, Diamond, and Tootsie. And Bo we had my whole entire life, and I remember I'm like grabbing on Bo's legs, and she's putting me on top of the horses, and she's teaching me how to ride the horses. And those are some of my like first core memories with her, is just being around the animals and her teaching me how to ride. And I'm assuming I'm like 4, maybe 5. And I remember following her around like on our farm, and we had like a rabbit hutch and helping her like feed the rabbits. And yeah, I just kind of like remember just like following her around everywhere. And one of my other core memories is like one of our goats that I grew up with, and his name was Rudy, and his mom passed away, and my mom took him in from our neighbor. And we raised him like a dog. We had him inside. We had him in a little kennel, and yeah, Rudy was just around, and I was like double checking my mind. But yeah, Rudy was around. We had a dog named Lucy is like some of my core memories. So just a lot of animals. A lot of animals are like my core memories with my mom and spending time with her, caring for them, and just having fun with all of our little creatures. At one point, we had a rescue ranch. I had to be probably around, I'm not sure what age I was, but we moved a lot. My biological dad was absolutely horrible at like paying the bills and like taking care of our family. So a lot of chunks of time I don't remember him in my memories, and he'll come back and forth. We'll probably do a separate thing on him, whatever. But yeah, my mom, I just remember a lot of time with my mom and us having to move because he's lying about paying the rent or whatever it is. So we moved to this ranch at one point. We had a rescue ranch. My mom named it after me for a little bit, and I just remember we had like 35 horses at one point, and yeah, my mom, any animal, I'm not kidding, any animal that needed help, she's like, yep, you're coming with me. And yeah, we had this blind little pony named Buttons. We had like a bunch of blind horses. We had one horse with like no eye, like missing one eyeball. I remember 2 were blind because like if an animal has like blue eyes and white fur, they end up usually being blind. So side tangent there. But yeah, we just had a lot of creatures growing up, and those are like a lot of my core memories is like my mom putting me on horses and walking me around. And oh yeah, that's a bigger thing. So before we moved to that little rescue ranch area, we had, I think it was in Kent still, and one of my mom's friends was like, "Oh, can you help us with like a birthday?" No, it was my birthday. Sorry, she did a birthday party for me, and she dressed up our pony like a My Little Pony, and she put all of our little farm animals in like this little corral, like a lot of space obviously, and so like little kids can go in there and like pet the rabbits and pet the pigs and hang out with the ducks or whatever it is, and we had a lot of like basic farm animals. So, and it was just like so much fun. Her friend was like, I'll pay you if you can do this for my daughter's birthday. So that is what bloomed her business, Debbie Doolittle's like petting zoo. And so she started doing the zoo to use. She would literally, I remember like big core memories is like my brothers and I were packing up the van, we're packing all the animals in, we're going to people's houses, and we're letting all the animals, and I remember my mom would just like stick me, because like obviously I'm little, I'm like not even going to school yet, and she's taking me everywhere with her, and she would stick me in the pen in there with them, and I would just like hang out in there, and she's like, okay, make sure like nobody hurts the animals, like 'cause obviously little kids are like ripping at like rabbits' ears, or I've seen some crazy shit from even grown men being assholes. So I remember like someone was picking up an animal wrong, and I was like, no, don't do that. But yeah, I remember like these pens probably weren't even like too tall, but I remember being so little and like helping her like move them. And so yeah, she started doing zoo to use is what we would call them, and yeah, she was like just a hard ass worker. She's like mowing lawns and doing this and that to like make ends meet for us, and we still would like have to move. And yeah, so where are we at in our timeline? So yeah, we have the rescue ranch, we have the zoo to use, my mom was working her ass off. So then kind of moving forward, she had a goat brush clearing business as well. So then we have a fuck ton of goats, and we take them to people's houses or like fenced in areas, and you leave them there for like a couple days or a week, and you let the goats eat all the grass, and they pay you for using their goats. So my mom was doing that, and she was posting like ads on Craigslist for that, and her posts kept getting flagged, and she's like, what the fuck? Why are my posts getting flagged? And she like is looking through Craigslist, and she sees this other guy doing like goat brush clearing. She's like, oh, it must be this motherfucker. Like it must be this guy flagging my post because he has a goat brush clearing business. So she messages him. She's like, hey, fuck you. Or like, I don't know exactly what she said. She probably didn't strip it. Maybe she did. Knowing her, she might have. But yeah, and he's like, I'm not flagging your post. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And she ends up talking to this guy, and she ends up buying a dog from him. And we end up getting a border collie for our like goats and like herding all that stuff. And this ends up being my dad that raised me. His name is Donnie. And oh shush. Oh, sorry. So yeah, so she ends up meeting him through Craigslist, and she's she's still married to my dad, and she meets him on Craigslist, and she's still with my dad, and he respects that. He's like, I understand you have a husband. I'm like, but he's still googly eyes for her. We know that. He still have he's googling over there. So yeah, he ends up inviting her. Oh yeah, what is it? So that's how they met, and then they became friends. So they were friends for like a year or two, and he ends up inviting her to his birthday party, and her husband and her friend. So he invites them all respectfully over, and she doesn't show up, and he's like, at the end of the night, he's like, oh, I wonder like why she didn't come. And so he texts her and calls her the next day, and she doesn't answer, and then she finally answers, and she's like, my husband just left. So my dad dips out, don't know where the fuck he's at, and my dad Donnie comes in the picture, and soon after that they go on their first date. They go on their first date, and there's actually a picture of them on their first date, and they're by this train, and they're on this like little red picnic table, and they're facing each other. It was like freaking cutest picture ever. So they end up dating, and then we end up just merging our families together. First date, they have that cute little picture, and my parents, so my dad Donnie and my mom, they end up starting dating, and in this similar timing, my brother has his first kid, and he's 17. So my niece Jayla comes into the picture, and we're in this one, I call it the cabin house, and we're in this just giant like wood lodge cabin house. It's huge, and my niece is living with us at the time. She comes in and out of the picture. I thought it was important to bring her in because my mom like always like raised her for a big chunk of her life. And so yeah, my parents just did everything they could to take care of us and make sure food was on the table. So they merged their goat brush clearing businesses, and we ended up moving into another place, two places in a place called Eatonville. And I just have a lot of memories from there. My sister and I. Oh yeah, and so also forgot to mention my sister. Sorry, Katie. My dad has a daughter, Katie, and so she comes into the picture. So Jayla and Katie are in the picture, and I am like over the fucking moon. I am over the moon about having a sister because I always wanted a sister. I have 3 older brothers. I'm like, yay, sister. Oh, she's 10 times worse than my brothers. I'm like, who is this girl? I thought we were going to be playing Barbies together, and she's beating my ass. So, but yeah, we fought, but we overall got along. That's my sister. And so we end up moving into a couple different houses, but I want to move forward into the timeline and kind of like touch into the place that I would consider that is my childhood home. So in about 3rd grade, we moved to Spanaway. So like all throughout this time, and I think in my little poem, I had mentioned like we were homeless at a time. This is like right after my mom like separates from my biological dad, and like I remember sleeping in our vans, and like we're sleeping in campers, but we're making ends meet. We're sleeping at like people's houses, and like obviously safe, like her friends, and I was just like sleeping on the floor. But like I didn't realize we were like homeless until I was like 13. We were talking about, I was like, oh yeah, we were having sleepovers, and she's like, we weren't having sleepover. She's like, we were homeless, girl. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize. Like, she just made it feel so, like, safe and fun. And just, I think that is, in my opinion, I think that's like the biggest attribute of a good parent is when you, as a child, don't really know what's going on because it's not your responsibility to be worried or financially scared or whatever the case is. And I have to say that was one of the best things she was like good at. She was just always like, it's like, we're having sleepovers, we're going here, we're doing this, and we're having fun while we're doing it. And she just like kept her head up and kept going. And so yeah, we're moving forward in time and we're in Spanaway. And yeah, I consider this my childhood home. And this place is on 10 acres. We have 2 barns. We have a little 2-story house. And like, I don't know if you've ever seen the show Little House on the Prairie, but it reminded me of Little House on the Prairie. And when I was little, it's one of my favorite shows. Like, I don't know if you remember the what do you call it? The chicken coop. One of our chicken coops like looked exactly the same. So this is a really old house. I don't remember exactly what year it was built, but it was very old and it was a little 2-story. There's like a little bedroom for my parents, and then me and my sister shared like the upstairs. And this is where just all of my my core memories are from, and it was just the best time. So we have all of our animals. My mom has her little business animals and farm, and then Donnie has his goats, and we bring them all to this farm. And we have our horses. We have a shit ton of horses, and we have donkeys, and we have all the things, pigs, all the stuff. And so we get situated in this home, and this becomes like our family home. This becomes home, 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 home. And I remember my mom just always like working on the farm and like scooping shit, building fences, doing the dang thing. I'm like, oh my God. And I think I was about 12, and my parents got USDA approved and got all their animal licenses, and we got our first exotic creature, and his name is Sean the camel. We got a Bactrian camel when I was 12, and I would describe camels as like giant toddlers, but we also got him when he was like really young. So yeah, we got him, and then we ended up getting wallaroos and wallabies, and then to come to find out, my mom's like biggest dream is to have an indoor petting zoo. And so we end up doing like zoo, what do you call them? Zoo visits. Like people it came onto the farm, and we would do horse rides and we would do camel rides. And we also ended up getting, I don't know if you know, the Ringling Brothers. They ended up closing down, and then we got their zebras. So now we're training zebras. And I have to say, my mom and dad, like, they thought something in their head and they're like, I want this, it's gonna happen. Boom. We want a camel, we get a camel. Like, we want a zebra, we get a zebra. We want the zebra to do right. It's like they just made shit happen. And I just love that about my mom and dad. Like, they're such business people. I think there was one time that I saw my mom do a quote unquote like regular job, and she worked at a Dell's farm supply store, and I remember I'd get like dropped off from the school bus. Anyways, this is a side tangent. But my mom always like worked for herself and did the dang thing. So yeah, what was I gonna talk about next? Yeah, so we had all our animals, and that's what our home kind of looked like. And also we had like reptiles too. So inside our house, we have like a prairie dog. We have the snakes. We have the 10 dogs. We have all like, our lives are just like, not chaotic, probably chaotic. I would say chaotic. Like, we have 10 dogs in our house and all this, that, and the other. But my mom kept the house clean. We had a clean house. It never smelled bad. Like, she was a very clean freak of a person too. So I wanted to talk about just like how she was there as a mother and just as like a friend. And I talked to my brother and I was like, hey, like, I'm curious, like, what does mom mean to you? Like, how did she impact your life? And he said that she was his best friend. He's like, that's my best friend, man. I was like, oh, that's so sweet. And I was like, did you ever tell her that? And he goes, yeah, I told her one day. I go, Mom, you know, you're my best friend. And she goes, oh, that sucks for you. I think she said, oh, that sucks for you, or I'm sad for you. I was like, oh my god. That's kind of how she was, though. She was very funny. Like, you're like, oh, like, and she's like, oh, that sucks for you. But I asked my sister the same thing, and she said that, what did she say exactly? She said that she was what did she say exactly? I wrote it down. Oh, it's right there. I was like, it's right there in my brain. Uh, she said that she felt like pure security and parental love. Like, my mom stepped up. It did not matter what blood you came from, or what you looked like, anything. Like, my sister was her child, and that was her daughter. And growing up, I actually did not know the difference until I was probably 13, what half siblings were, or what step siblings were. Like, I did not know that, because my mom was just like, you're my child now. I am taking care of you. You are mine. And that's how she was with my sister, and that's how she was with my niece, and even my half brother on my dad's side. Like, that was her son. There is no difference for her whether whose kid you are. You're my kid now. Like, that's it. And so, yeah, I just think about, like, memories of, like, oh god, I think of just like random funny memories of her. And I remember just how much she hated cooking. She absolutely hated cooking. She also made the worst mac and cheese. My brother and I were just talking about the other day. Like, I'm not kidding you. She sucked at making mac and cheese. She made like the watery, like, she didn't drain the water out of it, I don't think, like, all the way, and it was just soupy mac and cheese. But yeah, I just laughed so hard. She made shake and bake. That was like her thing. She made shake and bake. If you know what shake and bake is, you know what's up. She made green bean casserole. Those are the only two things I think she could cook good, were those two things. But she would always go, like, I remember if she didn't want to cook, she'd go, it's fend for yourself night. I'd be like, okay. She's like, there's food in the fridge, it's fend for yourself night. You know how to survive. Go survive. That's like the other bigger thing about my mom, is that I don't know if she raised like all of her kids the same, because like I said, she was 26 and 30 and 39 when she had me. Like, you're completely different people over the span of your life. And it just made me laugh so much, just defend for yourself. But she also she raised me really fast. So, like, I had responsibilities. Like, obviously, if you grew up on a farm, you understand, like, you have to care about other things besides yourself, and you have to make sure you're taking care of these animals. And, like, if you're a kid growing up on a farm, those are also your responsibilities. And so, yeah, my mom had me doing my own laundry at, like, 8 or 9. She's like, this is how you do laundry. You want clothes? Figure it out. Like, you're washing the dishes. You're doing these things. And she raised me very fast, and I was a very independent kid. And even my sister and my niece, like, same thing. Like, we have responsibilities. We have shit to do. Like, you want clothes, you want this, you figure it out. You do it. Like, I've shown you how to do it, just do it. And I really, really love, like, that she raised us like that, because we're so, I don't know, responsible, or, like, more in the future of this timeline, I'll talk more on that, because I think it was really important that she did that. Some fun memories. Some other fun memories is that she would rescue baby goats from the slaughterhouse, and it's really animal, not abuse, but trigger warning. It's like, oh, what's the word? Trigger warning. When you have, like, slaughterhouse goats and stuff, they're like, oh, this is so bad to say. But yeah, the mommy goats are pregnant and they'll just slaughter them and then like right after they give birth. And so my mom would go to the slaughterhouses and she would rescue baby goats and sheep. She's like, "Oh, I don't want them to like die, so I'm going to like go grab them." I have to say she had got 50 or like 70 of them. I remember we had like this stall and we had to knock out this whole like wall so we could fit all of them in one stall. And so she rescued all these baby goats and sheep. And I remember she would be making like bottles and she has to make like 50 to 70 freaking bottles for these babies and they need to be warm. So she would save all these soda bottles and she would make the mixture inside and then she'd get these like little nipples to put like on top of them, on top of the bottle. And she would get heavy ass buckets of hot boiling water and she would float the bottles in there. And then she would do this by herself. She would walk them all the way out to the barn and she would feed the 50 to 70 fucking baby goats by herself. So yeah, she just like did. I remember helping her with that sometimes too, and I'm like, but she would just like go out, do the chores. Like, I was going to school. Who fucking knows what she was doing while I was going to school? Going to school, like she's doing all of this to make sure, like the baby goats really probably weren't making us any money at the time. Like she's just doing this out of the kindness of her heart, but also she's putting food on the table. She's like doing this, and that. She's doing the zoo to use. She's doing, I heard she was doing lawn mowing at one point. She's cutting hair. But she's doing all this shit to like make sure we're like taken care of. The other biggest thing that I remember about her and that made her her is how fun and celebratory she was. She absolutely loved celebrating Christmas. Christmas is one of her favorite holidays, but like every holiday she just made it so special and fun. Like Easter and just like all she had freaking bins of like decorations that she would save and she would just make it so fun and important. And it would make you feel so important. Birthdays were also one of her other like favorite things to do. And I remember I think I was in 4th grade at the time, and she surprised me on my birthday during lunch. And she had this giant basket of like treats and presents, and she had balloons attached to it, and she had this silly little headband on it, these puffy little hair things. And she surprised me in front of all the other kids and brought me this basket. It was like, "Happy birthday," and like pulled me out so that we could hang out together and I could open my gifts. And she just made, and I know I wasn't the only person that she did that for. Like, she made you feel like the only person in the world and that you were just so important and that you were so loved. And that was her love language, was gift giving. And yeah, she just made you feel so loved. And I do think that she was the glue within our family. Like, she always planned like birthdays and like Christmas. She would get everybody together, all of her cousins, like all the people she would invite over, and she would just make everything feel so like spectacular. And like Thanksgiving, all the things, she like kept our family together. And after she passed, that kind of went away, and I could tell like she was that one person between hundreds of people being like, boom, we're getting together, bitches. Like we're gonna have fun. Like they did. I remember my parents did Halloween like parties and stuff. We did a Halloween party in one of our barns, which we turned it into a saloon, which is really cool. But yeah, she always like made, for my brother for instance, like every single year they had a tradition of going to the movies together, and like that was just their thing. And it's just like so special and cute. Like my dad for instance too, like every year he would get a Cookie Monster cake, and my mom made sure, she's like, he needs his Cookie Monster cake. Like she would make that shit happen. um so yeah, that's kind of how she felt like pure parental love, as my sister said. And she was very supportive and very there and very present. Moving forward into oh yeah, before I move into the other heavier chapters, is yes, she just made you feel special. She was very celebratory, but she was very present. Like, she made sure, like, how you feel supported is, like, her physically being there. And she was very encouraging. I did a lot of different sports. My sister even, like, for my sister's basketball games, like, I also did basketball from, like, kindergarten all the way up to 8th grade. And she was, like, there for every game. She was there. My brothers would come too, and, like, she always made sure that she was present in those times. I also did band, and she was there for. I just think about how horrible I sounded, and she's so supportive. Like, she's letting me play it. Like, I'm in my room playing. I remember being like, okay, enough practicing. I'm tired of hearing the horrible noises. But she was still, like, so supportive and so loving in those ways. And she would show up to the band concerts, and she would take all the pictures, and she would do all those things. And yeah, she was there. She was very, very present as a parent. So, kind of moving forward, and I know I'm not getting, like, too deep into her timelines. I think I might do another, like, whole episode on really, like, diving deep into her, um, like, her chapters. But for now, I feel like we have a pretty good flow going on. But yeah, I hope you're enjoying it so far. I'm enjoying talking about her. This is honestly feeling, like, super therapeutic to just, like, yap about her. But moving on into our heavier chapters of her life, between all of us. So I don't really remember what month it was, but my cousin ended up getting cancer, and I remember we were in the car with my mom, and my mom just started crying, and she's like, well, if I had cancer, I would do this. And me and my sister are, like, looking at each other, and she's like, okay. It's, like, a really emotional, like, like, kind of out of the ordinary, like, really emotional reaction of hers. And we're like, okay, interesting. And I want to say maybe a year before all this happened, I was watching TV, and this, like, cancer ad came up, like, cancer preventative or something. And I remember watching that. I remember watching that ad, and I just got a really, like, I just got this sinking feeling and this random, like, thought that came in my head. And I was like, my mom's gonna get cancer. And I've had other instances like that before that timeline, but it, like, hit me really hard. And this is like years prior. And so coming into we had phones in school, and my dad ended up texting us while me and my sister were at school, and we were like, hey, we need to have, like, a family chat. And I was like, oh fuck. I was like, did I fuck up? I was like, what did I do? I'm, like, instantly guilty. I was like, oh fuck. I was like, oh god, we did something. And so we get home, and we are sitting on the couch, and my mom's in, like, a recliner, and my dad's, like, standing behind her. And I remember him just being like, we have something to tell you. And I was like, oh god, what did I do? I was like, I'm so nervous. And I just remember my mom, like, putting her face in her hands and just starting to sob her eyes out. And my dad's like, we went to the doctor, and we found out that your mom has breast cancer. And I just remember, like, oh, I could cry right now. I'm like, I just remember feeling so, like, lost and confused, and being like, this is a joke, right? Like, this is a joke. This isn't real. Like, this can't be real. And I was obviously, like, my mom's losing her mind, and she's just sobbing her eyes out. And we're like, we're gonna get through this. We're gonna, like, try everything we can. We're gonna start doing treatment. And I feel like after that, the time period's kind of, like, confusing, and I can't remember everything, but I just remember her slowly but surely, like, getting weaker. And just to see the most beautiful woman you've ever seen in your life to go from this, like, she was 51 when she passed away, so she was 50 at the time. she was, I mean, I'm not kidding you. She's chucking hay bales, picking up sheep. Like, I mean, this woman was strong. Like, she wasn't just like, not just a girl, just a woman. No, she was like, I'm fucking gonna do this shit myself. So she was just so strong and independent. And yeah, I'm like looking to make sure I'm like, oh yeah, and to kind of like put this in like perspective of my timeline as well, I was in 8th grade when we got the diagnosis. And I think I was in 7th or 8th grade, 7th grade, maybe in the ending of 7th grade. So yeah, she had cancer for about 9 months, and like for the first few months I remember not really like seeing a big difference, but I remember her having like headaches and not feeling super well, and then she had to be hospitalized in October. And I remember kind of like really hitting me and being like, "Oh, my mom's sick. Like my mom's like sick." And she was in the hospital for the whole month, and I remember, like I said, she loved celebrating. We decorated her whole entire hospital room in Halloween stuff, and she got little hats, and she did all this stuff. And yeah, she wasn't feeling well, and she was in the hospital, and my sister and I would go there like every day after school or as much as we could and try and spend the night. And there, I think this is like a little bit, she knew she was going to end up losing her hair at some point. And so we all did like a family like photo shoot thing. Yeah, we did like a photo shoot and we did pictures together. And then she decided to shave her head before like it just started slowly falling out. And yeah, she just like started losing weight. She got super, super tiny. She even started wearing my clothes. She started stealing my clothes. I remember being like, where's my shit going? I'm like, I keep losing my pants. And I look over and I'm like, there they are. So yeah, she started like taking my clothes, and I just remember her starting to sleep a lot. And then like things seem like they're getting better, and we're like, okay, like the tumor in her breasts are starting to like shrink and it's starting to get smaller, and she started getting like massive headaches. And we're like, what the fuck? Well, we go in and we see that she has 4 tumors in her brain, and they're not ones that you can go in and remove safely at all. And so we kind of just started like, okay, we're gonna do radiation. And that might have been why she shaved all of her hair off at first. She had these cute little fuzzies though. It was so cute. So she had curly hair. She had a little fuzz. She was like a little peachy and fuzzy still. And her hair was like that long still. And yeah, we start doing radiation treatment. She has this like, it's really scary looking, but it like goes over your face, and it's like this net thing that she has to wear. But like I said, she likes celebrating, so she brings things to like decorate it. She brings like different little hats to like sit with it. And yeah, she kept really positive. She started collecting scarves, and she started collecting like hats and all these different things. And it was just, she still like like even though it was such a dark fucking time, she still made it like fun. And she stayed very positive for a long time. And she also started getting into like different little hobbies. She started loving coloring. She loved coloring. She got into a hot glue phase too. She like, I came home one day and we always had pictures on our fridge like of people and all that stuff. She like cut them all up into like different shapes, and she hot glued them to the fridge. And if you are going through this, or if you know someone that's about to, it's like when you are going through these periods of time that you physically have no control over your body and what's happening to you, you end up controlling things outside of you. So, like, I've known for parents that are going through this, they start controlling their kids, they start trying to control other people. And, like, her, she started, like, she picked, like, I feel like she was kind of getting more bossy, but I'm like, I get it. But yeah, she started, like, hot gluing and, like, doing these random weird things. We're like, interesting. One of these really funny, there's 2 funny stories that I think of off the top of my head. And one is that she found out that you can grow avocado trees through like taking a toothpick and like putting them into the seed and putting them in shot glasses. So they, I'm not kidding, like one day I come in and literally our whole entire fucking kitchen is like every window ledge is like shot glasses and avocados, and she started putting them in like containers. Like she's obsessed at this point. And I'm like, this is getting a little out of hand here. So I secretly started throwing some of them away so that she could, like, there's too many avocados, so I'm gonna throw some of them away. My sister caught me one day and I was like, do not tell mom, like you cannot tell her, she will kill me. I was like, don't tell her. And so yeah, she's doing like, and another thing is with brain cancer, depending on where the tumors are at in your brain, in the beginning, like she would start laughing at anything. She's just like cackling. And I was like, when is she laughing? It's not that funny. But towards the end of when it was putting more pressure on her brain, she started like watching more Criminal Minds and she started getting into dark shit a little bit. And I just remember seeing like this shift, and like obviously she's going through this hard thing and her demeanor starting to change. She's feeling like tired. So yeah, she did radiation. She also went to Mexico for a time and she did like this full body like flesh thing that they tried. It was more of a natural pathway. They also tried, she also tried eating for her blood type. She was doing everything she could. She was fighting. She was fighting. And when my dad took her to Mexico, he ended up surprising her, and her favorite animal is an elephant. And he took her to go see elephants, and she got to meet like the elephant that you see in like most of the movies. And she got to like hang out with them, and it was just a really fun experience for her to be able to do. And I thought it was so sweet of my dad to like treat her to that, like on the way to her treatment. And yeah, so I'm like trying to make sure we're. And the other thing is, so I told you she started like losing weight, and we're trying all these different treatments, we're trying all these things, and she's losing her hair, and she's starting to have to take a fuck ton of medication. She's taking all this medication, and I remember she was taking, I don't know which one it was, it started eating like a hole underneath her tongue, and I remember that bothering her so much. And yeah, she was losing a lot of her independence, and we were having to give away some of our animals because my dad and us, we can't handle all of them without her. And so life is starting to shift, and yeah, what was it? The other thing is like, yeah, things are starting to shift, and like I said, people, like parents try to like, not parents, but like if your parent's sick, they try to like, if they're in these situations, sometimes they can try to control things in different aspects, and I kind of went through that. But she told me one of her biggest fears was she had talked to other people in like cancer like community, and like learning that sometimes when the parent is sick is the kid starts to like blame the parent and like get mad at them because they can't like understand why they're sick, or whatever the case scenario is. Like she heard some of her friends going through that had cancer, and her biggest fear was me hating her for this situation. And I'm like, oh, it makes me want to cry. And it's like, I could never hate her, and I had to grow up really fast in this situation, and that is why earlier I was like, oh, I'll come back. Like, I feel like she knew that she needed to raise me up fast because I could handle this situation a little bit better. And I was like, I could never hate you. Like, I understand you're sick and it's not your fault that you're sick, but sometimes, and I understand like it being frustrating that like your mom is sick or cancer is happening or whatever it is, and but I just in that time I just could not imagine hating her for something that's not her fault. And yeah, times were definitely heavy. She was becoming really weak at the time. She started having to use a walker, and like I said, she was losing weight, and we ended up having to get a hospital bed inside our living room because she couldn't get out of bed. And so she had, yeah, we had the hospital bed and all these different things, and we're still trying to have like a good time. Like we're still trying to enjoy her, enjoy our time together. But at this time, I'm starting to like realize like I don't really have a parent anymore, and I'm the one taking care of her. I'm starting to I remember having to like grab her arm and like hoist her up so she could get to the bathroom, and she had this little belt that would go around her hips, and I would have to hold her from that and like help her walk to the bathroom or the kitchen. And seeing somebody that loves independence and is very powerful and is very like a badass woman go from that to this, and to see her be so frustrated with that, and like to see her like lose all of her independence was absolutely heartbreaking. And to see her go through that, and for her kid now to have to help her, like I was like, I'm the caretaker now. And it was just really heartbreaking to see that, and to see her have to go through that, and to have to see her like break down and like cry and just like be so upset that she can't physically do things on her own anymore was like absolutely heartbreaking. And to just see her go through that was just really, really hard. And yeah, there was a lot of really, really heavy times during that period, but I do have to go back to like some of the funnier things. And like I remember her, I have an audio. I was videotaping her, and I was like, what did you say?" And she had a cane at the time instead of a walker, and I was like, "What did you say?" And she's like, "I'm a badass with my cane. Fucking badass." And I was like, "Why?" And she goes, "You see this? I can move shit around, poke people." And I was like, "All right, like that's kind of." She goes, "I'm a badass with my cane," and I'm like, "Get it, mom? Hell yeah!" And like another time is like when she did have her walker and she was losing her mobility, that she would sit she would sit in, like, you know, you can sit down on the walker, sometimes they have that little platform thing. She would sit on that and she would kicky foot herself around. So she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get shit done." She's like doing laundry and shit. She's kicking foot. I'm like, "What are you doing, woman? Like, you're not supposed to pick up anything heavier than 5 pounds. Like, stop it. Like, what are you doing?" It was like so hard to get her to fucking sit still ever. And another funny time was when I remember I had just come downstairs, and I was like, I was walking downstairs and she's like, "Oh, I need help." Our microwave was like in this like like shelf area, and she needed it down because she couldn't reach it. And I was like, "Yeah, I'll help you in just 1 second. I just gotta use the bathroom." I come out, like I'm not taking forever. I just freaking go pee and I come out, and I look in the kitchen, and she has turned her walker around and she is heaving it off the shelf onto her walker. And I'm like, she's doing like a balancing act. I'm like, "Mother, what are you doing?" I'm like, what? She's like, looks at me and she goes, "You were taking too long." And I was like, "I took 2 seconds. You can't just wait." So I'm like, I have to help her with that. And like, yeah, I just think of like those funny moments. But another thing that maybe you've gone through, if you've seen, is like when someone's dying and like going towards like these times, is that their inner child comes out, and like they start acting a little childish. And I remember I was sitting next to her, and I came home from school, and I was sitting next to her on her hospital bed, and we're sitting like legs like this, like hanging off. And I'm like, "Oh, how are you?" And she kicks me in the leg. She kicks me right in the leg. And I go, "What was that for?" She looks at me and she goes, "I don't know what you're talking about." And I was like, "You just kicked me." And she goes, "No, you didn't." I was like, "Okay." Anyways, my day, and she kicks me again. And I go, "Mom, what are you doing?" And she turns, she goes, like, she snickers to herself. She's like, "Ah." Oh my god. And so, like, there was, like, fun times in these hard moments. And, like, we were having hope for a long time, but then she got, like, the breast cancer was getting better, then the brain cancer was getting worse, and then they were shrinking, and then they weren't, and it was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it was very like emotionally draining for her and for everybody, but we're still trying to like enjoy her during these moments. And at one point we know we just get the from the doctor like you we can't fix this. Like there's nothing to do. And we're like, "Oh, okay." And your brain goes, "No, no. Like there's no way this is ending. There's no way that like this is happening." And so I feel like for the whole time I still had hope and I still had like I believed still. But yeah, my mom was like, "Okay." And so we're talking about funeral stuff and we're talking about maybe like what she's wanting. Does she want to be cremated? All this, that, and the other. And she goes, "Do you really think that you're going to have a funeral without me and eat cake without me?" And I was like, "Well, that's usually how funerals go." And she's like, "Fuck that. No." And so on February 19th, we did a funeral for her. And we did a funeral for her, and it was just so beautiful because she was there. She was there, and it was called Lunch and Hugs with Debbie. And we did this whole big thing. I forget exactly where it was at, but I think over 300 people showed up. Like I remember the room was like not fitting all of us. And there was like a buffet, but then she was at like this front table area, so then there was a timer and there'd be like a line of people. You can go and sit with her, talk story, and then the timer goes and then it would switch to different people. And it was like a regular funeral still, like people were doing speeches of like I've known Debbie for this long and this and that, and like but she got to sit there and experience it the whole time, and it was a celebration and it was fun and it was beautiful. And you know how they do like slideshows on like for funerals too. They did slideshows and all this, that, and the other for her, but it was like really emotional to see like my dad break down, and she got to witness all of this. She got to be there for it. And I played the saxophone at the time, and I played baritone saxophone. I played Amazing Grace for her, and I played Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And it was an honor to do that, and it was an honor to be able to celebrate her life with her while she was there. And it was very beautiful to see how many people loved her, and like I mean friends from I met cousins that I've never met before, and I met one of her boyfriends. I was like, what the heck? He was this like short little Filipino man, and he was like, "I did your mom when she was at this hair salon," and I was like, "Okay," and I was like, "Mom, I just met your ex-boyfriend. What the fuck?" And at this time, like she's very tiny, and she put like a bob wig on. She had cute little glasses on, and yeah, she still like enjoyed her time and enjoyed the life that she had. But kind of moving forward, um, we had to after this we had to put her in hospice because like I was telling you earlier, she like would not sit still. She was like could not sit still, and it's like hurting her at this point. So we had to put her in hospice so she would sit the fuck still. And that is when things got really bad and she began to have seizures because she was in so much pain and her body physically couldn't handle it anymore even with all the medication. So we had to induce her into a coma. And we would get calls while I was at school like, "Hey, your mom's her breathing's going down, her heart rate's going down." Like I'm in 8th grade and I'm getting calls from school like, "You need to come and say goodbye." And we would drive over there and her heart rate would go right back up. And we're like, "Okay, joke's on us." And she really did hold out for everyone to say their goodbyes and everyone to get their like goodbyes in. And like at this point, like she is unrecognizable, and I can see how much she's physically in pain. This is before she went into the coma, and then now she's in the coma. And like oh yeah, and before this too, like she sent with the brain tumor, she's starting to like hallucinate. And this is before the coma too. And it's like she's hallucinating and she's like calling me, and I'm like, "Oh my," every time I see a call on my phone, I'm like, "Oh my god, mom, what?" And she's like, "I'm having lunch with the president." And I'm like, "Huh? Like what? What do you mean?" And she's watching the president on TV have lunch with somebody, and she thinks that she's having lunch with him, or she thought that she would go in and out of it too, and I think she knew that she was kind of doing that. And another, like, I just love like having the little highlights in it throughout these moments of like she thought like the person next door had like puppies for sale, and she was like, Serenity, go get me a puppy. And I'm like, okay. And I like went and talked to the nurse, and she's like, just tell her there are no puppies available. And we like went back in, and I was like, Mom, there's no puppies available. And she's like, fucking assholes. I'm like, okay. Or like she had little stuffed animals, and she was playing with one of the dogs, and some like people would entertain her, and she'd like meow, 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 and they would be like meow, 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 and she goes, it's not real, stupid. She'd be like doing random things like that. And she'd be like, it's not real, stupid. Are you stupid? It's not real. I was like, oh my god. So yeah, she's now in the coma, and there's a lot of traumatizing things that happen. Like I'm seeing her being taken care of unconsciously, and I like have heard like noises from her that I've never thought a human could make. And I did have PTSD for like a year after because of that, and like seeing her like that and hearing her in that way was like really really heartbreaking, because I never thought I would see the most powerful and beautiful woman in that way. And she, yeah, so she was in the coma, but she's still like, you're obviously you're moving someone's body, they still make noise. And my sister and I would sit and we would talk to her, and we would imagine like I think she could still hear us. And I would play her favorite song. Like we have our song, and it's called Stuck Like Glue. It's a country song, and I would play it to her, and I would talk to her, and I'd be like, I love you. I'm gonna miss you. Like I would just tell her about fun times we had together, and my sister and I would talk to her. And yeah, it was like really hard to like have to say goodbye in that way, and like them not fully be there, but like I love you. And my sister and I were gonna go home one night because we would spend the night at the hospice, and we were gonna go home one night. And my sister's like, "No, like we should stay. I have a feeling we should stay." And I was like, "Okay." And we're like sleeping on the floor. My dad's there with us, and we get woken up. My dad wakes up off like the ground or the couch or whatever, and he wakes us up, and he's like, "She's gone. You gotta say your goodbyes." And my dad had held her hand until her very last breath, and he goes like, "Go say hi to your brother. Like your brother probably misses you. Like it's okay to go. Like you can go now." And like he's, yeah, it's just really heartbreaking to like my dad had to like hold her hand through her last breath. And we woke up and we said our goodbyes. But I remember waking up, and like the room was like silent, like completely silent. And I like looked at her body, and I was like, that's not her. Like you could completely feel like the presence, like it's gone. But even though I felt that way, I still like gave her a hug, and like I could feel like her body was like hard already, and I just like it was like stiff, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna give her. I was like, okay, I love you. Like I'll see. Like I was gonna say I'll see you later, but I won't. And I remember just walking out the door, and we literally left our life behind. I like left the person that I love the most like behind. And I just remember walking out the hallway and outside, and we literally just walked into a completely different world, because like what is life and what is the world without her? Like when I was younger, and like I would describe her to people, and it's like I would describe her as my rock. That was my rock. That was my everything. That was my everything, and now it is gone, and I don't know how to exist without her. Like I don't know what to do. And I did go to school that day, and I did continue to go throughout my day. And I remember I had a band concert the next day, and my dad's like, no, you can't go. I had like cross country, and like I'm just like going throughout my life. And I tried to throughout those few days after, I was just like, well, mom wouldn't want me to be sad. Mom would want me to push on. And I have lived my life for her in a lot of ways. And yeah, she passed away May 17th, 2017 at like 1:30 in the morning. And that was the day that my life changed. I completely lost my old life. I lost the way I lived my life. I lost everything that I knew that was my life at that time. And we just had to walk into our new one, and we just had to continue our life on without her. And that is like the most confusing process ever. But yeah, that was it. That was the day she left us, and the most beautiful, wonderful, amazing fucking person in my life, and a lot of other people's lives left us. Just had to leave. So I know this is kind of abrupt, but I am gonna leave you here. I'm sorry to leave you on such a heavy, heavy exit, but I am gonna do the next episode on what life was like after her and what the process of living life without her looked like and how I live my life now in a different way with her. I hope this connected with you. If you are going through this right now, I love you. Like, I could cry. I'm like, I love you so much. And I'm so sorry if you are going through this, because I would never, I would never wish this on my worst enemy ever. This is and was the hardest thing that I've ever gone through. And I'm so sorry if you are going through it. I promise you will get through it. I love you. I love you. I love you. And if you need, please text me. I will connect my Instagram below. Please, please, if you need something and you need someone to connect to through this period, please, please message me. I hope that you loved this episode. I hope you got to truly understand her and just feel her energy here. I do have her little Willipur here. She was gifted this at 18 years old. She gifted this to me. So we had Willipur here the whole time. We'll snuggle up. yeah, I yeah, I just love you. I love you. Oh, to end the episode, our flavor club. Welcome to our flavor club section. And the flavor club is the comment section down below. Comment your flavor. How are you feeling? I want to know. I want to connect with you. If you want to DM it to me, you can DM it to me or comment on whatever platform you're already on. My flavor, my flavor is peppermint ice cream. It is cozy, it is nostalgic to me. It was my mom's favorite ice cream. It was this crunchy little bits of chocolate. I feel like nostalgic and cozy, and peppermint also has like this fresh energy to it. So, yeah, my flavor is peppermint ice cream. I'll comment it down below. What is yours? It can be whatever you want under the moon. So, as my mom would say, I'm going to leave you on this. She would say, I love you to the moon and back. And I would say, I love you to the moon and farther. So I will see you next time. And that is it. All right. Bye. I'll see you later. I hope you touch into the next episode to hear what life was like after. So, mwah, I will see you later. Well, hello. You thought I was gone, didn't you? Well, I am not, in fact. Welcome to Plot Twist. This is where, at the end of an episode, or I don't know, a plot twist area of the podcast, I will randomly be doing things. I will either be sharing a fun fact with you, reading some Reddit stories, or if you want to write in your own story, random facts, your own mommy trauma stories, whatever it is. If you want to write in, you can write in our plot twist section. I will read it. But what is today's plot twist, you may be thinking? Hmm. Today's plot twist is a fun fact. So my mom, a fun fact about my mom. She had, her favorite animal was an elephant. I was gonna say she had an elephant. She did not. We had plenty of other animals, but her favorite animal was an elephant, as you saw my little stuffy the other few seconds ago. And I want to do fun facts on elephants today. Fun fact is that elephants actually mourn. They mourn their loved people saw that elephants like were mourning the ones that were dead and were checking them out. That is a really sad fun fact, so I don't want to leave you on that one. But another fun fact about elephants is that they use mud as sunscreen. I did not know that. I had to look that up. I was like, what? They use mud as sunscreen. And our last fun fact about little elephants is that their babies, they suck on their own trunk as if a baby would suck on their thumb. I thought that was really freaking cute. Like, that is adorable. That they suck on their own trunk as if like a baby would suck on their thumb. I was like, that's adorable. But yeah, that is our fun facts for the day. Oh, thank you for listening, and I'm happy that I was able to do a little plot twist for you, keep you on your toes. But yeah, that is our plot twist for the day, for the episode, and I hope you had fun. I hope you liked it, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.